quickly just snapped off. It's been a while, hasn't it, hey? Yo guys, what's up? Welcome back to the Fireballmadeit channel. I know it's been a while since I've posted any content, but you know, we're back now. In all seriousness though, I do apologize for the lack of content. I don't think anyone ever knew this YouTube channel existed. I frankly kind of forgot it existed for a while, but you know, summer 2025, we're here to make some content. We're here to help you improve your sports designs. We're gonna do so today right now. I'm sure you've seen designs made by guys like Ethan J Designs, Velasco, and so many others using this really cool 3D text. And it's super simple to make in Blender. It's super simple to texturize in Blender. I'm gonna show you guys how you can get the same results as these pros right here. Let's get into it.
He's heating up!
I'm gonna show you two different things that we can make in Blender. We're gonna be making text, and we're also gonna be making your own 3D logos today. I've done a separate tutorial on how you can do that in Photoshop, which I've got on my page, but we're doing this in Blender today, man. This ain't no Photoshop, we're doing this fully in Blender, okay? You hear me? I actually lied, we're going into Illustrator first. First, we gotta prep our logo to make sure that we can get into Blender. Right now, we're gonna start off by turning our logo into an SVG. An SVG, it stands for Scalable Vector Graphic. And essentially what this is gonna do is it's gonna give Blender the shapes to our logo, so that way we have something to kind of model. Think of it as like prepping clay before you go in and turn it into teapots or something. What we're gonna do right now is we're gonna open up Illustrator, and we're gonna get a new document going. I'm gonna make mine 1000 by 1000 pixels. You can do whatever size you want. Next thing you wanna do is you're gonna drag in your logo. I've got this Minnesota Timberwolves logo right here. I'm just gonna bring that right here into Illustrator. Next thing, we're gonna go up to the top bar, scroll down until you find image trace. That's gonna bring up this little menu. We got a couple steps we gotta do to make sure this gets our logo the way we want it. First thing, we're gonna switch the mode from black and white to color. Next, we're gonna count out all the colors that we have in our logo, and this is going to include the transparent background, which is odd because this doesn't have a transparent background, but we're counting that white. So white's gonna be one of your colors. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna count out all the colors in here. So I've got white from the background and the little teeth, the gray circle, the dark blue, the light blue, and the green. So that's 5 colors. And we're gonna do, come back to this image trace menu, select your logo, and bring the threshold down to 5 colors. Next thing, come down to method, and we're gonna switch over to overlapping. If that might end up changing your mode, which is what I realized earlier. So if that does happen, switch that back to color, bring your colors back to 5, make sure that overlapping is still turned on, and do not click this transparency button. That won't really matter, you can just delete your background. We're gonna hit this trace button down here. We're gonna let it do its thing. And then it's gonna give us this. Now this might look weird, but don't worry. Because what we're gonna do is we're gonna hit this expand button. And as you can see, the shapes are there. Now I'm gonna come over to my layers tab, open that up, and you're gonna see that every single little shape has been carefully cut out. Now what I realize is the top circle is up at the front for some reason. So I'm just gonna drag this back down the order until it gets to where I want it. And then this little square that I mentioned earlier, I can just delete that by hitting this little circle here and then hitting the trash can. And just like that, I've got my logo completely cut out and it's almost ready to bring into Blender. I'm gonna bring it back into my composition, go up to File, I'm gonna hit Save As, and when I go to Format, I wanna select SVG. We're gonna call this Wolves Logo Tutorial. I'm gonna save that, click OK, and I'm gonna come back down here and hopefully my Wolves logo is saved. Yep, right here. Now we've got our SVG all prepped and ready to go. It's time to get into Blender, okay? There's a sparkling water in my Blender. Once you open Blender, you're gonna see this pop up on your screen. You're gonna hit General where it says New File and open up a new world. This is where we're gonna make our 3D logos and text. Here's some basics in Blender that you're gonna need to know. I'm working on a trackpad right now. I don't really know how this works on a mouse, unfortunately, so I'm sorry, but if you look down here at the bottom of Blender, it's in mouse terms, so use that as you wish. What I'm gonna do, I have a trackpad, so to move around, I'm gonna hold Shift and put 2 fingers on my trackpad and just move like this. If I wanna rotate, I just release the Shift button, I move with the 2 fingers. Zoom in, you make a pinch, zoom out, do the opposite. So if you're seeing what I'm doing on my screen, you're seeing how that zooms in. Those are some basics that you're gonna need to know in terms of movement. All this stuff we're not really gonna need, so I'm just gonna select and hit X and then hit delete. And I'm gonna do the same thing for the camera, and I'm gonna do the same thing for the light because we do not need that here. So now what we're gonna do, we have a fresh canvas. We're gonna go up to File, Import, and we're gonna scroll down to Scalable Vector Graphics. I'm gonna go to my Sports Edits folder and find my SVG. So Wolves logo type. I'm gonna import the SVG, and it's gonna look really small. Don't worry about that. What we're gonna do is we're gonna select, go up here to this scale button, and you're gonna want to try and get the middle. You're gonna try scale out from the middle like that. You're gonna drag outwards, get the circle, middle circle, scale out like that. Then what I'm gonna do, in order to just pop this up so we can see it easier, hit R followed by X 90. That's gonna bring it up 90 on the X-axis, and then I also do RZ90 just so that way I can have it on this axis. And just like that, I've got the logo up here. Now you're gonna notice it looks really weird, and that's because all the layers are merged together. So I'm just gonna start picking apart my layers and dragging them back. And if I remove these two, you'll notice that now I've got the meat of our graphic. Now you may notice that because everything's the same color, I can't really see which layer is which. So I'm just gonna go in and quickly recolor a couple of my layers just to make it easier for us in the future. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna select this layer from here, and I'm gonna go to this little red circle in this tab. Here, this is your material editor. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go up here and I'm gonna hit this X, and I'm gonna remove this material because this material is applied to everything. So if I change it, well, let's go back and show you. If I change it, everything becomes the same color. So you don't want that. So what I'm gonna do, we're gonna remove it. We're gonna hit new and make a new little temporary type of shader. I'm gonna go to base color. I'm just gonna change it to something I can see, like this red. I'm gonna go down to my other one and do the exact same thing. And I'm gonna make that blue. And then now I can see the specifics of our logo. And so for this one, I can just go in and change the base color because it's connected to all of them. So yeah, we'll make it white. And now I can see my logo a lot more clearly. So this is kind of what our logo looks like. If we come back over here, this is what the actual logo looks like. So you can kind of see it. Now here comes the fun part. We're gonna start extruding. So what you're gonna wanna do is I'm just gonna space this out again, and we're gonna go to this green string with 2 squares attached to the ends. And this is where we're gonna make the 2D shape 3D. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna come down to this extrude tab, and I'm gonna type in 0.01, and as you can see, it's made a little 3D shape. If I do it with this bigger object, just to show you, 0.01 on the extrude, we've got ourselves a 3D shape. And what I'm gonna go do now is I'm gonna extrude every single shape. And just like that, I've got all my shapes extruded. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come back up here to the left side, click on this move tool, and I'm gonna start kind of moving them into each other just to make them an actual cohesive logo. And just like that, I can move that a little bit in more. It depends on your liking, but we've got the frameworks of a 3D logo now. Alright, we just got that logo done. Now I'm going to show you how to make your own 3D text, and the best part is we don't gotta leave Blender anymore. We're staying right here in Blender. Hit Shift A in Blender to bring up this little tab. Hit text and bring your text in. Scale it up bring it over to the middle, RX90 to bring it up like that, and then bring it up. To edit this text, hit the tab button on your keyboard, and then type in some text. We're going for a Wolves player because I just did a Wolves logo. So I'm thinking Anthony Edwards because he's been having a monster postseason. Comment down below, do you think the Wolves are gonna win it all this year? That was cringe. So, I'm gonna type out Edwards and hit tab again to confirm my selection. I'm gonna scroll down here to change the font, look for where it says regular, and hit this folder. That's gonna bring up your font book. I'm gonna scroll through these fonts and pick one that I like. I'm gonna hit open font, and just like that, the font's been changed. Now I'm gonna scroll up, and I'm gonna extrude this text out to make it 3D. Now text, it works a little differently than the actual logos because your logo mesh isn't gonna be as clean as the text mesh. Because the text mesh is cleaner, we can extrude out a little more without seeing any significant things that might worry us with, let's say, the logo. So I'm just gonna do 0.3, and that looks good. And just like that, you've extruded your 3D text. But are we really done? We can make it better. Select it, Command C, Command V, create a copy. We're gonna go back into this little A tab, and I'm gonna set the fill mode to none. And then, I'm just gonna bring it forward, and you're just gonna see I've got some outlines here. If I bring the depth up in bevel, that's gonna create some soft little outlines for us. I'm gonna add texture just so you can actually see. And then if I drag this back over, then I've got a little outline. All right, we got everything we wanted modeled, but it looks mid. So we're gonna fix it right now and go into the shader editor and start tweaking around with some little things, and we're gonna make this look good. All right, I'm gonna show you 3 different ways that we can create texture inside of Blender's shader editor. The first thing you have to do though is get to the shader editor. Move your cursor up to the top left hand of the screen until you get this little cross. And then just drag in rightwards to get a second window. We're gonna go up here and change this to shader editor. Then we're gonna make a new texture. And now we're gonna start texturing. We're gonna need a couple different things in order to actually texture this properly, which I'm about to show you on screen right now. First thing, we're gonna need this environment texture. It's an HDRI, this little Chinese rock garden. That's gonna help us accurately get some lighting in there to use with our environmental textures. So you're gonna wanna download that up here. Second thing, we're gonna need an actual texture. So I'm gonna be using this metal texture from Ambient CG. This is the one that I got from Cal's tutorial, and I've used this my entire life. So if you've seen some of my edits, you've probably seen this metal texture. And what you're gonna do is you're gonna click on this, and it's gonna download you a zip file. And so in this zip file is a whole set of different things. We've got the color map, displacement, metalness, roughness, and other stuff. You're not gonna need the displacement, but you are gonna need the other stuff. I'm gonna show you the easiest one to make so far. It just takes 2 steps. We're gonna hit Shift A, and we're gonna bring in magic texture. Then what we're gonna do is hit Shift A again, and bring in a color ramp. Connect the magic texture to the base color, and put the color ramp in between. I'm gonna make this text green. So in order to get this really cool looking gradient, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna select a greenish color, and then I'm going to select almost the same color, but just a little bit brighter until we get this nice looking gradient. Then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go over here to magic texture, and I'm gonna play around with the scale and the distortion. And the depth. So depending on what I do, I can get some really cool looking textures. And just like that, we have one texture down. The second texture I'm gonna show you is gonna make all your stuff look really metallic. This is a metal texture. Once you've got that texture downloaded, what we're gonna do is we're gonna make another new texture. Here we are, got our principal BD stuff. And this time, we're going to type in environment texture. I'm going to copy and paste this 4 times over. Before we do anything, I'm going to come over here to this globe looking window, click this yellow dot, type in environment texture, and then I'm going to hit the open button, and we're going to search for that environment texture, the Chinese garden, and we're going to open that up. Now we need to open up each of the individual files that make up this texture. So I'm going to hit the open button here, come down to my metal, and I'm going to hit this color texture, connect that into base color. The second one I'm going to do is the metalness, and we're going to connect that into this metallic. Third one, we're going to open up the folder again, and we're going to open up the roughness one and connect that into the roughness. Finally, I'm going to open up once again and click on one of these normal textures. I'm going to connect this into the normal tab and then Shift A to get a normal map. So now we've got this pretty cool golden texture right now, and I can change the strength and how it looks with this normal map. But we're making a Timberwolves design, so something doesn't look right. To fix this, we're going to actually change it into the colors of the Timberwolves. Once again, Shift A, we're going to bring back that same color ramp we had before. And this time, I can just select a color and bring the blue all the way down. I'm going to make this a little darker, and bam! We've just textured our text. Finally, we got one last texture to show you. And if you've seen the Ethan J design tutorial, you probably know where I'm going with this. We're making glass. Alright, to make this material, we're gonna have to do a couple things differently than how we did the other ones. First things first, we're gonna come up to this little icon right here. It looks like a camera. It's about second one down. We're gonna be changing the render engine from Eevee to Cycles. And this is because you're just not gonna get the same result that we'd get in Cycles if you used Eevee. The next thing that we have to do is we're no longer working with our environment texture. So it should be blank if you haven't done that yet. So I'm just gonna go ahead, add the environment texture. Oh, how do I get rid of it? Just hit this X, make a new world. That's all we really need to do. Now I'm gonna come over to my wolves logo. I'm gonna find a piece that I want textured. So let's use the main wolf body. Got a principal BS7 here for some reason. I don't want that. We're going to make a new material. And the first thing we're going to do is just get rid of this. We do not need it. We're going to hit Shift A, and unsurprisingly, we're going to type in glass BSDF. Now, Ethan J Designs, he's done a tutorial like this before. The glass in itself could very well just work. See, it'll kind of reflect, but as you zoom in, you can kind of see those little shards of glass. But he does a couple things differently that we're gonna follow. So, one, we're not gonna have it actually connect straight there. We're gonna do this. We're going to copy and paste these 3 different times. We're gonna keep it on Beckman. The first one, we're gonna make this kind of reddish color. The second one, we're going to make this green color. And the third one, we're going to make this blue. And this is gonna give us some chromatic displacement in between the glass, which is gonna come out really cool. For the red one, we're gonna keep our roughness at 0.0. We're bringing the IOR down to 1.4. Green one, we're keeping at 1.450. And blue, we're cranking up to 1.5. The next thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna hit Shift A again and hit Add Shader. And we're gonna connect this red one into the top one and the green one into the bottom one. We're then going to Shift A again and to add another
add shader. The blue one is going to go into this bottom one, and then this add shader is going into the top one here. So it should look something like this. Then we're going to hit Shift A again. We're going to add a mix shader. And we're going to connect this shader into our middle shader right here. We're going to hit Shift A. We're going to add something called Fresnel. And we're just going to connect this into the FAC. This shader is then going to be added to the surface of our material output. And you can already kind of see the outlines of where this glass is. So we're getting there. But there's a couple more things we can do to make it better. We're going to hit Shift A again, add a glossy BSDF, and connect this into the bottom shader, and keep the roughness around there. Now the final thing that you can do is, if you want to have some kind of color, if you want to color the glass, then we can Shift A and add a color ramp. And we're going to take this color ramp, connect it there. I'm going to select what color I want, so let's just make it green. And then I'm going to bring this completely all the way over. Now you may be noticing, this really doesn't look like glass yet. And that's because we have to come back over here and just turn on transparent, and then transparent glass. And just like that, now we've got glass. So now what we can do is we can add this texture to all of our other pieces around here. Alright, so now we've got our glass logo right here.
Alright, I got the textures done. Are we done? Nah, watch this. We about to make it even better.
We're gonna hit Shift A. We're gonna add a light. We're gonna pick area light. What I like to do is I like to shine it from different angles. So what I'm gonna do is scale this out, and then come over here to the power and crank that power up. So I'm doing like 1,000. And now you can kind of see that it's starting to become a little more dynamic. It's starting to be a little more like glass. And what we can do is we can keep stacking these area lights on top to get different reflections. So if I stack it here onto the edges, then you'll notice we're starting to get a little bit more light coming through. And we can just keep continually adding these lights wherever we want. And we can change the color of them too, so if I want some blue reflections coming from here, I can add those. So there's a lot of endless potential when it comes to playing around with these lights. I'm just gonna bring this back to white for time's being. I usually like to go crazy with the lights because the more lighting you have, the more dynamic it can get.
Gotcha. Now we gotta get this out of Blender. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna render it out.
What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hit Shift A, and I'm going to bring in a camera. And I want this camera to be facing towards our logo. And then to get it into the precise area that I want this camera, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come up here to this little drop down, click on View, and then click Lock Camera to Viewer. I'm then going to come up to here, in View, hit Cameras, set Active Object as Cameras, and now I can move around as the camera. Now that I've got the camera set up the way I want to, I need to make sure that my render is going to be perfect. So if you look over here in this top right area, you'll notice there's an eye icon and a camera icon. If I have the eye icon turned off, then that just means it's not visible. But as long as I still have this camera turned on, when I render out my image, whatever object is there is going to show up in the final render. So I need to make sure that I turn off this camera for every single thing that I don't want in the render. So if you see no eye and a camera with an X on it, that means you can't see it on your screen and you won't see it on your render either. So now that we have that all ready to go, the last thing to do is just hit the render image button and it will start to render out your glass, your 3D text, your logo, whatever you want to render out. It's going to be right here. Heads up, if you're using cycles, it's going to take a longer time to render out your image than if you're using Eevee. That's just the way it is. So Kyle didn't like being in the video, so we're going to pay our respects to him right now. Anyways, just like that, we have made our own 3D text and logos inside Blender, and we've leveled up our designing game just like that. If you enjoyed watching this tutorial, make sure to leave a like and hit subscribe below, so that way I can keep producing more and more content for you guys and help you get to the next level. This is Fireballmadeit. Now it's Ben Fireballmadeit. That was the worst intro or outro ever. What was that tagline? This is Fireballmadeit, this was Fireballmadeit. Shut up.